Hey True Seekers, it's Nathaniel here with another deck profile. Today I will be covering a Link, Hope, and Holy Spirit. And if you have been paying attention, I have done a couple different Hope and Holy Spirit decks or Holy Spirit and Hope decks. This one I'm doing a little bit differently, so that way I can maximize Sinnies, which is why I have my Sinnie dice up here. Alright? First off is our power cards. We're going to be running the bare minimum of power cards in this deck. So I'm going to run 3 Hope and 2 Holy Spirit power, because that's all I need to fill up my power pool. I'm not going to need any other special power cards like Fasting, although they could be helpful in this deck, but that's not what this deck is about. This deck is about Sinnies. So I'm going to use the minimum amount of power cards, so that way I can save space and add more Sinnies to my deck. These guys up here out of the way. I have 2 Paul's Chains, because I still need to be able to search for my Animo. Wait, real quick, sorry, I didn't even go over Link's ability. Link's ability says after your draw phase, you have no power cards in your hand, you may reveal your hand and search your deck for 1 standard power card. Shuffle your deck. And then Paul's Chain says, to whom this card, the animal to whom this card is attached may not be activated, but may be discarded at any time during setup phase. Once per turn, as long as this card is attached to an animal in your small group, you can search your deck for up to 2 level 1 Animo and place them in your small group. If there is no room in your small group, this card has no use. I'm mostly using this to get my flow ultras, because a lot of my Animo have effects when they are played from my hand. Next up is my story cards. I have 3 Good Soils. It says look at the top 7 cards of your deck, place 1 Animo you find there in your hand. I just wanted a story card that specifically gets me Animo, not Virtuous Animo or Animo tied to like a level or a kind. So this way I can specifically grab my Sinnie Animo. Run 1 Conversion, which allows you to discard a Sinnie from your hand and search your deck for any 1 Virtuous Animo. If you do not have a Sinnie in your hand, you can't play this card. And then I have For Such a Time as This. This is a new card from Fearless, and it says reveal any number of Sinnies from your hand to your opponent, shuffle them back into your deck, and you may draw 2 cards for each Sinnie shuffled into your deck in this manner. I run a lot of Sinnies in this deck, so this card comes in handy to help filter those Sinnies back into my deck so I can see them later. I run 2 Hoofits in this deck, which has the ability, says if this card's in your hand, you may choose to discard it. If you do, you may shuffle any 3 cards in your discard pile back into your deck, excluding this card. This card you can discard in order to get your Sinnies back, or other cards that you need. Then I run Servitude and Potpourris. Servitude has the ability, says you may draw 1 card for each Faith, Hope, or Holy Spirit Animal in your small group. And Potpourri says as long as this card's in your small group, ignore the effects from actions of any Sinnie revealed to you. This way you can get around Sinnies and you can draw a bunch of extra cards. These are the cards I want to see in my small group, so I can attach Paul's Chains to them. Next up, I have 2 Flow Ultra. I don't really need to run a whole lot of Ultras in this deck, so I could get away with running 3 Flow Ultras. However, Flow Ultra is really good because it lets me grab any 3 Animo, which includes Sinnie, and this allows me to have a combo later on where I can use the swap ability to discard and grab 3 Walrus. It also has the swap ability, so it's only a once per turn effect, so I can't use both of them in the same turn. Moving on to our Holy Spirit Animo, I have 3 Guppies. It says when this card is played from your hand to your small group, you may search your deck for any Faith or Hope Animo, shuffle your deck afterwards. So that way I can use him to go grab my Hope level 2s. And I got Guppies level 2, who says when he's played from your hand to grow, Guppies level 1, you may reshuffle your hand into your deck and draw 6 cards. So he basically kind of gets me enough fuel to draw and to see all my Sinnies that I need, because some of my Sinnies combo off of each other. Next up, I have 2 Draylight level 1, 2 Draylight level 2. Draylight level 2 says when this card is played from your hand to grow Draylight level 1, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, take 1 and put the rest back in any order. And then I have 2 Draylight level 3. Who has the ability, says when this card is played from your hand to grow Draylight level 2, you may search your deck for any card. Shuffle your deck. So I'm going to get plus 2 cards off of these cards, which is going to be extremely helpful in fueling my needing to find my cards that are specific for this deck. So I'm going to be using that. Since it says any card, I'm using it to find my Sinnies. That's what I meant to say. Alright. Then I have Todoken Ultra, who is a 2 for 10. He's just there for big points. Move on to Hope Animo. I have 1 Hightail, because I'm going to shuffle them back into my deck and draw 3 cards. every time I see him. And since he only used once per turn, I usually like to run 2 to 3 hightails in the deck just for consistency of seeing them, but they can get kind of clunky, and I had one in my binder, and I decided, you know what, I'll only try to use one this time. Alright, then we have 2 Swimmers. So Swimmer has the ability to search your deck for any one standard power card and place it directly in your power pool. He's my only power card search, and I can search for one standard power card, place it directly in my power pool. He also has that Fellowship bonus with Holy Spirit, which I actually get to use in this deck. Then I have 3 Socro from Red Letter Day. It says, when this card is played from your hand into your small group, you may draw 1 card. And then I have Socro level 2 from Red Letter Day. It says, when this card is played from your hand to grow Socro level 1, you may shuffle your hand back into your deck and draw 5 cards. So this Socro is actually really good. And along with combined with the gut piece, I'm just going to be shuffling my hand, hopefully like every turn, to draw 5 more cards. So that way, I'll have a greater variety to choose from. Next up is I got my Percy. Percy level 1, when he's played from my hand to my small group, I can look at the top 5 cards of my deck, take 1, and return the rest in any order. He's very powerful because he enables me to just grab any 1 card top of my deck, which includes my Sinnies. And then I run 3 Percy level 2s, which has the action says I may search my deck for any 2 cards and place them in my hand. Now, between the Draylights and the Percys, I'm going to be able to just get any card, and that's very helpful. Between the Good Soils and the Flow Ultras, I will be able to get any Animo, so that's going to be extremely helpful in getting my Sinnies that I want. Now, first off, I'm running Blood Money. Blood Money says it can only be attached to a Mega Sinnie. The Sinnie to whom this card is attached gains +8 defense. When the Sinnie is defeated, the opponent gets credit for defeating 2 Sinnies. Okay? And then I run Walrus. Walrus says you may have up to 3 Walrus in your deck and play them on top of each other to create a wall, which the defense of the sum of each card. Each Walrus card in the wall counts as 1 Sinnie when defeated. So the idea is that I'm going to see all 3 of these. I'm going to pile them up on top of each other. And I'm going to have a 24 defense Sinnie. So it's a really big Sinnie that my opponent has to get over in order to gain points. Its weakness is Socro, which is common for Hope decks because Socro is a main win condition for Hope decks. So we'll see how that goes. Next up, we have 3 Scornets. Scornet says you may have up to 3 Scornets in your deck. Play them on top of each other and create a swarm. The swarm has the defense of the sum of each Scornet, but only counts as 1 Sinnie when defeated. So I can have a total of defense of 18 defense Sinnie. As for the Megas I'm running in this deck, I have Lorcaii Mega, who has a 14 defense, and says select 1 Animo in your small group and flip it over. As long as the Sinnie is active, that Animo may not be interacted with in any way. I can equip Blood Money to it, and then it is considered a 22 defense Sinnie. I have Fearcrow Mega Plus, who is an 18 defense Sinnie that has the action says your opponent might not play any cards from their hand on their next turn. I can attach Blood Money to this and make him a 26 defense Sinnie. And then I have Tokro Mega Plus, who's a 21 defense Sinnie. I can attach Blood Money to him to make him a 29 defense Sinnie. Now you'll notice that I have both Mega Pluses in the deck, which usually we just run one or the other, but there's no rule saying that you can only run one. Now, the downside is that when they defeat this Sinnie, he is worth 2 points instead of 1. You attach Blood Money to either of these guys, and they're worth defeating 3 Sinnies. Okay? Now, that leads me to my final 2 Animo, Fearcrow and Conformillion. Fearcrow has a defense of 5+. Add 3 to the defense of this Sinnie for each Sinnie your opponent has already defeated. And Conformillion, which has a +6, or 6+, which is add 2 defense to this Sinnie for each Sinnie your opponent has defeated. So the idea is that I'm focusing this deck on just powering up these 2 Sinnies. That's it. That's the game plan. The game plan is powering up Fear Crow, and Conformillion. So the idea is that between these guys being worth 2, Blood Money making them worth +1 more, and Walrus counting as 3 defeated Sinnies if you defeat the entire wall, I'll have these guys powered up in no time in order to actually be able to use their ability. So this is the theme of the deck, is that I just run a bunch of cards that search for specific cards. And it is a Sinnie-based control strategy. The only downside is that the more Sinnies your opponent has defeated, the stronger these guys get, but also the closer your opponent is to winning. So if they defeat the Walrus, this guy's going to be +6, or sorry, he's going to be +9, making him a 14 defense Sinnie, just from defeating the wall or defeating one of the megas with Blood Money on it. And then Conformillion, he's going to be worth anywhere from 12 to 14 when he goes and gets played. That's the basic idea of this. However, if your opponent has defeated 5 Sinnies, you play this guy. He's a 20 defense Sinnie. And this guy, he'd be a 16 defense Sinnie. So hopefully we don't get to that point, because if my opponent's just steamrolling all my Sinnies that are supposed to be there and just be really big, and that's a problem. Hopefully I can get a score net in there, so that way it's these Sinnies are going to be stealing points away from them, so that way they have to invest those points into defeating them. But if I run into too many Sinnies, I got For Such a Time as This, so that way I can draw cards to replace them. Plus, between the gut pieces drawing and the So Crows drawing, I'm going to be seeing a lot of draw power. Anyhow. So with that, I'm going to bring this video to a close. This has been our Link, Hope, Holy Spirit, and Sinnie deck profile. In the meantime, Truth Seekers, keep learning virtues and defeating Sinnies.